Hi everyone, my name is Abayomi. Today we'll look at OOP, Object-Oriented Programming, how it differs from functional programming or procedural programming. So what is OOP or Object-Oriented Programming? This is a programming paradigm that uses objects, so uses more of objects and classes. I have in my slide here, classes are just blueprint for objects. Think of a soft drink. Most soft drink they have the same bottle. That is the blueprint for every soft drink, and why they can create a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola or a Fanta out of that blueprint to give them their uniqueness. Then we have inheritance, a way of borrowing properties from a class, which is the parent, to a child class, which can be called a derived class. While we have encapsulation, which is hiding certain properties from the outside world. We're just hiding certain components away from the outside world. And we look at polymorphism, abstraction, constructor, and all this, if not all, most of these things here. So I will close these and I'll create a new. Let me zoom in a bit. So I'll do touch oop.ts and I will open oop.ts. Yes, so we have our file here. So let's start with class or classes. Let me zoom in a bit. One more. I hope that's clear enough. So let's declare a class. So for declaring a class, we have this syntax, and if you are like me, if you're using VS Code, we have this class definition for us, but we have the class keyword and the class name, which is let's do person, and it's just a convention that we start with an uppercase, then we have this curly bracket, then we can declare our properties. I'll do name age, and because we are writing TypeScript, I like to just give it my return type, which is a return type of number, and this should be string. And if we go back to our note, we have constructor, a special method used for initializing objects. It is called when an object is created. So let's look at how we can declare or write our constructor using the constructor keyword. Then we can pass this. Then if you want to reference to these properties we have, so I'll put the constructor keyword, and we'll use this keyword here. Now let's assume that we want to access name and age property. Then we can pass in our let's do person name. Then we can have person number. This code block will be called when we are creating a new object out of this class. Remember, a class, then we declare a constructor, and these are the properties. If you want to pass the properties into the constructor, we use this keyword to point to them. As you can see, we're saying this.name is referring to this current object out of this class. This.name equals to person name. And some people, like, they can just pass name and name, but just to separate the properties from the parameter that we have in the constructor, I like to differentiate the name here. So we have this.name, that is this guy, equals to this, whatever we are passing here. Then we have this dot age, this should be age, equals to person, this should be age. Makes sense, person age. Then if you want to create an object out of this class, you do write object here. Then we can do const person1 should be in common case, equals to new. We are creating a new instance of this guy, person. Then if you over on it, it's saying expected to argument but got 0, so it's expecting person age, which is any, and person name, which is any. So just to correct that, let's give them their type. This should be a string and this should be a number, just to put in the types safety there. Then we have string and number. So let's pass in our name. It should be week and age is 44. So we have John week. Then to call this, you can do person 1. Then if I open my terminal, then I run ts node because I'm using node. I'm using TypeScript. I can do OOP thoughts. Now run. We have person name week. To access one property there, we can do cl console.log person1 dot, let's call it name. As simple as that. We have week. Now we can have properties. The properties of a person can be, okay, the person has a name, age, and can perform certain action, so which we refer to as method here, method of function. So a person can speak. We can have this guy here. Then can return something like in our string interpolation, like my name is. Then we can do this. So this is referencing this correct object out of this class. This dots name. My name is that guy. Then if I do cl, if I do person1 dot speak. Now if you just write a speak here like this without invoking it, without calling it, you get something like a function. So we have a function speak because this is a method of function. So if I invoke this guy speak, then we have my name is week. It's calling this method here. This brings us to our next topic, which is abstract class. Abstract class cannot be instantiated. This is what we call instantiating a new object out of a person class. So if I call this guy abstract, we have this error, cannot create an instance of an abstract class. It means we cannot instantiate it, but we can extend. What we mean by extend, that we can borrow some properties here or some methods. If we have 1 or 2 here, we can borrow from the parents. This is the parent class. Then we can now extend. Now in a person, let's create another class called let's call male. Then we can extend it. Can extend this person from here. This is a new class. Then if I do const male, or let me just do m equals to new male, it means it's working. So we can call, but it's expecting 2 arguments. Now let's fix all these squiggly lines. We have class male extend expected 2 argument, which is this properties that we have in name and age. Then if I want to pass the properties from the parent class, which is the person, into the male class, which we call the derived or the child. Let's assume that the male, we want to have another one called is male or gender. Let's pass gender here. Gender, we do string. Then we can have a constructor too, which we take in a super class. Super means I want to get the properties from here. As you can see, we have expected 2 argument but got 0. So I pass the name and age coming from the person class. Then also in this male should have its own property called gender, which is string also. Then take the name, which is of string coming from the other class, and age, which is of what? Number. Then this guy is now expecting 3 arguments but got 0. Then if you over on it, we will have what? String, age, no, string, and age. So the first one is gender, which is I'll do f. Second one is name, I'll do Johanna. And the third one is age, I'll do 78, and we are good to go. Then I can log m, then clear my screen, run this guy again. Then we should have property gender has no initializer. So let's fix this. property gender as non-initializer because we did not use this keyword, this dot. Gender should equal to, let's call it person gender, or you can make it just gender, whichever one, gender. Then if we run again, let's clear. There we are good to go. We have Joanna 78 and female. Okay, we are done with the abstract class. Let's look at access modifier. The common one that we have, remove all the comments for now. Remove all the comments for now. So we have private access, we have the protected, and lastly we have public. And we also have the read-only. We'll look at this later. So by default, all properties are public. What do I mean? It is valid if I put public here. This is a valid code. If I run my code again, everything still works. Let's look at the key difference between private and protected. So if I make the name private, then if I come here, if I do m dot, as you can see, the name is not accessible outside here. So this is what we call encapsulation. We are hiding it away from other classes, simply put. So except it is only accessible within the class. This is the class in this code block here. It's saying the property name is a private and only accessible within a class person. This is why we can use it here. We can use this keyword with the name. Okay, for protected is only accessible within. The difference between protected and private, if I call this guy protected, okay, let me go back to private. Let me let's write male hobbies. Let's do hobbies or hobby, something like a hobby. Then we want to write this method, do this dot gender. We should do our string interpolation here. Loves football. So it will be maybe male loves football or female loves football, whichever one. So if I have okay, let's do another one here. Yes, let me close this space. We do this dot name. As we have here, because we have this as private, it's saying property name is private and only accessible within the class person, like we saw earlier. But if I turn this guy to protected, the error is gone because we can access it in an external class because we are borrowing the properties from this parent class called person. Those are the key difference between public, protected, and private access modifier. And the last one, we have the read only. Let's assume we want to have a private read only, that is the access modifier is this private, so private read only. Then we want to have let's say my secret, or let's do base URL. A number of times we want to have a base URL, something like coming from env. Let's just assume that we declare it as https something.com, right? So we have private read only base URL something.com. So what read only means is that we cannot change this value. We can only assign it at this point or inside the constructor. This is what I mean. If I do base URL equals to a string, then we can now do something like, if not here, we can now do something like this dot base URL equals to https something.com. So we can only assign the base URL here. Okay, let me put a string here just to be clear. Base URL, then we don't even need this here because we're not passing it outside. saying this base URL equals to this. So this is one of the ways that we can use this. This read-only property, that is, we cannot change it afterwards. Let's look at how we can access this base URL. Since this is an abstract class, we have an abstract class here. We cannot call the base URL directly. So let's make this a protected so that we can have access to it in our mail class. Then in our mail class, let's do a getter and setter. Or let's just return. This is a method that returns the base URL. So I'll do get base URL, then I'll do this. Then of course we have access to this, which is the current object dot base URL, and that's all. Then if I come here, I can do mail dot get base URL. That'll be all. Let's call this cons log base URL equals to m dot this. Then we can do a co dot log base URL. Let's do ts node op thought. We have https something.com. So this is how we can pass properties from one class to the other. A quick recap: we have the abstract class, then we turn this guy to a protected, then we pass the actual value here, then we exposed in our get base URL. We have a method that returns the base URL because we have access to it from this protected, called from this protected property. So I'll comment all these guys out. Then we'll look at getter and setter. Let's say we want to expose a private property outside that class. How can we override that? So I'll create another class called choose car property. Should be, let me do a private model, should be a string, and public name should be a string, maybe year of make. Let's do a public year of make. This should be a number. Then of course we have our constructor. I'll just use the same name name is a string, and year of make, can I spell year of make? Year of make is a number. Then I'll do this dot model equals to model, copy it more times, then I'll do name, and this should be year of make. As simple as that. Am I missing anything here? Model string name number. Okay, this guy is private. Now to expose this guy, we have a concept called getter and setter. Unlike in C#, you can also do something like a prop, something like this. It's not coming out here. Let me. C# you can have something like public string name. Then we have something like get set. I'm not sure if we have this in JavaScript. Let me know in the comment section if we have it in JavaScript. So let's create a getter and setter, call it and setter, so that we can have access to this private property outside. So for the get, we use the word get. A get must return something. Just do this dots model. That'll be all. Then we can have access to this guy. So if I do const car1 equals to new car, then I pass in 3 arguments. We have the model, let's say Volvo. We have name. Model is what? I don't know. Maybe Volvo Volvo X. Then we have name, call it Volvo, and year of May, let's do 2023. Then we can have access to this model, name here. So if I do car1 dot model, so if I do car1 get, let's name this guy get model, so that we will know that we're getting the model. We have get model. Then let's wrap this guy in console.log. Car1 get model. Then we do a fire for this guy. We have is a function, of course. We need to call it. We have Volvo, so we have access to this guy now. So by exposing this getter here function or method. So but to use the word get setter, like we said here, you must use the word get. So I'll do get model. Then it's saying, well, this expression is not callable because it's the get accessor, so you don't need to call it. We're using the get keyword. So it is safe to say without this get keyword, it's still a getter. It is safe to say, but just to follow the actual rule, we need to use the word get. So if you're using the word get, you don't need to call, you don't need to invoke it. That's the meaning. And you see have the same result. So okay, that's a mistake, sorry. So we have Volvo X, it's still working. So to use the set, I'll do set model, because at the moment we cannot override we will not overwrite the value of what we have here, which is what's it called? Model is Volvo X. So let's give it a try. If I do car1 dot, we don't even have model. We cannot even override it. It's not possible. Okay. So let's write a setter for this. So I'll do set override model. This is a good name. I don't know. So it will take one parameter called value, which can be of a string. By the way, you can have a return value of string here too. Still valid. So we don't use the word return here, unlike get. So we just do this dot model should equal to this value coming in here, value, and that'll be all. Then we can now do the actual override here. We can do car1 dot set, we have set here, no sorry, dot override model equals to Mercedes. Then if I do a cl console.log, let's do car1, let's see what we'll have here. TS, then we should have Mercedes instead of the Volvo X. So this is how we can use a getter and a setter to override a private or a protected property. So let's look at polymorphism. Polymorphism. Can I spell? Polymorphism. So poly means many and morph means changed. So we can have different forms of classes derived from one. So we can have a class human. Class human has a property which is public, and name of return type string, right? Then let's create a constructor. We have name, return type is string. We can do let's log this dot name, so maybe plus, okay, with my name, in quotes, my name is string interpolation. Then we close this guy, then remove this, then we can turn it to backtick. Okay, then let's do speak. What am I doing here? Oh, sorry. Speak, this should not be here. I'll cut it away from here, I'll paste here. Then this should be this dot dot name equals to name. Then we can have another shape here, extends class, let's call this guy male, extend from human. There we can say speak here. If I press on speak, we have return voids. We can have can we do my name is, I can't type this up. My name is, do you have access to that? This dot name, this dot name. Then we can, this is let's say from one and from 2. So class female, let me just copy this, call it female, small m. My name is this dot name. So let's create a constructor here and a property. Let's call it gender of string. So we can pass gender here of string. Then we close this, we can do this dot gender equals to let's do female. Then it's saying it must contain a super class. Okay, let's add a super here. The super is what do you have here? Name of string. Then we need to pass the name here to string. Just to, do we need this? Do we need this? Do we need this? We don't need this. Then for the male class, I'll pick this guy here. I mean the female class, this guy should be male, and this guy should be female. Then so we have from 1, so we are taking shape from, we borrowed from this human class, we borrowed the name, then we took the shape from this human class. Then we have name here passed as a constructor. Then we have the gender, which is peculiar or unique to the male and the female. Then we created our super class. Then if we call the male speak, my name is this and I am a, let's fire the gender here, this dot gender here. I'll copy this guy and replace. So the moment of truth, so I'll do cons, let me call this guy boy equals to new male, expecting name is I'll do John, I'll call it girl, female, I'll call it Jane, right? So if I do CL tab, let's boy and girl. So let's see what we, so boy and girl will give us name John male, female Jane female. Nice. But if let them speak, let the boy speak, do CL boy dot speak, then we invoke, and girl dot speak. Can I spell girl? Then if I run it again, we have my name is Jane and I'm a female, my name is John and I am a I'm a male. My name is John, I'm a male. My name is Jane, I'm a female. Right, so this is a typical example of polymorphism in action. So this is pretty much everything I want to show you guys. So in our next class, we'll be doing that integration test. I have this app written with TypeScript, Node.js and MongoDB, but using the OOP approach, starting from the modules. So I've converted them from the functional or the procedural to OOP, where we're using a constructor here that we've linked to the repository pattern. We have the base repository here. Then to the response, we have it here. Then we have the response class here. Then we have a schema using joy validation. Then we have the token service, the REST call, down to the templates. Everything, 99.9% was written in OOP. So if you enjoy this video and you want to see this breakdown of this OOP based approach, let me know in the comment section. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next class. Bye bye.